The great ship hung in the lunar orbit, a silhouette of sharp angles and cold, non-reflective surfaces. On Earth, every screen was tuned to the arrival. The message from the vessel, delivered in flawless but toneless major languages, had been clear. A galactic governance, the hegemony, had expanded its borders to encompass this spiral arm. Humanity was now a subject species. A hegemony envoy would descend to receive the formal submission of its new world dot in Geneva. The designated chamber was silent. The air itself felt heavy. Representatives of the unified Earth government waited, their faces pale masks of controlled tension. At their head stood the appointed speaker for the occasion, a man with tired eyes and a simple gray suit. He was a former soldier, then a diplomat, chosen for this terrible moment for his steadiness. A shimmering column of light materialized in the center of the room. Resolving into the envoy, it was tall, insectoid, with a carapace of polished ebony and 4 multifaceted eyes that took in the chamber with a single sweeping glance. It moved with a precise, clicking grace. The presence of its personal gravity field subtly warped the light around it. "People of Earth," the voice issued from a translator orb hovering near its thorax, smooth and devoid of inflection. "This moment is a formality. Your integration into the hegemony is inevitable. You will surrender your strategic defenses, provide a census of all beings, and accept the administrative oversight of a hegemony governor. In return, you will receive the benefits of stable, orderly governance. You will kneel, and you will prosper." The envoy extended a slender, articulated limb, placing a crystalline data slab on the offered podium. The terms are inscribed. Your compliance is not a request. It is the logical conclusion to your solitary development. Resistance is an illogical waste of biological potential. All eyes turned to the human speaker. He did not look at the data slab. He looked at the envoy, his gaze steady. He had known this was coming. The council had debated for days, weeks. The technological gulf was a chasm. The hegemony ship in orbit could likely extinguish cities with a thought. Military resistance was indeed a waste. But some things, the speaker believed, were more important than efficiency. "Envoy," the human said, his voice calm, filling the quiet room. "We have received your message. We have studied your terms." The envoy's head tilted, a gesture of mild academic curiosity. "Then proceed with the ceremony of submission. Your designated leader will physically kneel and acknowledge hegemony sovereignty." "There will be no kneeling," the speaker said. A faint, almost imperceptible click came from the envoy. "Clarify your statement. Your alternative is obliteration. Your species' survival is contingent on obedience." "We understand the alternative," the speaker replied. He took a small, deliberate step forward. "We have analyzed your communications, your demeanor. You speak of logic, of order. You view emotion, individual sovereignty, the messy struggle of self-determination as weaknesses. You are incorrect. They are our strengths. To kneel is to renounce them. We choose not to." The envoy was silent for a long moment, processing. The concept of chosen extinction was clearly a pathology in its logical framework. "You speak for your entire species? You would condemn every one of your billions to death for a principle?" "I speak for the consensus," the human said. It was not entirely true. The consensus had been fragile, a slim majority. But in this moment, he made it true. "We have lived in the dark for millennia, envoy. We have fought ourselves. We have struggled. We have clawed our way from the mud to the stars, not to find a better master, but to be free. We will not sell that for safety, not even for survival." The envoy took a step forward, its imposing form looming. The gravity field pulsed, making the air thick. "You are emotional, irrational. This is not a negotiation. It is an ultimatum. Kneel or be ended? This is the final query. The speaker felt the weight of every life on Earth behind him. He thought of children, of art, of love, of the long, painful, beautiful history that led to this room. He thought of what it would mean to be a subject species, forever watched, controlled, their spirit broken. Some prices were too high. Then we choose the alternative, the human said, his voice never rising. We choose execution. The chamber erupted in a suppressed gasp. Some representatives shut their eyes. Others stared, horrified, and yet, in some deep place, grimly proud. The envoy was utterly still. The four multifaceted eyes fixed on the human. The logic was inescapable. The parameters were set. The subject had rejected the sole condition for continued existence. The protocol was clear. Confirmed, the envoy stated. The word final is a tomb seal. It raised a limb. A needle-thin emitter glowed with a pale blue light at its tip. The sentence is carried out on the speaker for the species as a demonstration of consequence. You have 72 of your hours to reconsider the collective decision. The human did not flinch. He straightened his shoulders, a small, almost forgotten military habit. He looked past the envoy as if he could see through the hull of the ship, through the void, to the blue-green marble of Earth. He offered it a small, faint smile. The blue light flashed. It was silent, painless, instantaneous. The speaker for humanity collapsed, a marionette with cut strings, a small, scorched mark on his temple. He lay on the polished floor before the hegemony's podium. The silence that followed was absolute, more profound than any noise. The envoy observed the body, then the stunned, tear-streaked, but defiant faces of the other humans. It expected screams, panic, immediate capitulation. Instead, a woman, the secondary representative, stood from her seat. Her hands were trembling, but her voice was iron. The decision stands. We will not kneel. The envoy recoiled, a minute shift in its stance. This was not in the behavioral predictions. Grief should lead to submission. Fear should break them. It broadcast a command to its ship, ordering a display of power, a precise kinetic strike on a remote mountain, a volcanic eruption triggered by orbital beams. The images appeared on the chamber screens, awesome and terrible. The humans watched. They saw the fury of a god, and they did not bend. Your demonstration is noted, the same woman said, her eyes red but dry. Our answer is unchanged. For the first time, a flicker of something akin to uncertainty crossed the envoy's processing. It was a flaw in the flawless logic of dominion. It had offered them life as slaves, and they had chosen death as free beings. It had executed their representative, and they had elected another in the space of a breath. The threat of extinction was meaningless to a species that had already accepted it. On the hegemony ship, the commandant reviewed the data stream. The envoy's reports were filled with anomaly codes. The psychological profile of Homo sapiens was unraveling in real time. They did not follow the self-preservation imperative to its logical conclusion. They operated on a different axis entirely, one where concepts like honor and freedom held more mass than biological continuity. On Earth, the story spread, not of the terrifying ship or the awesome power, but of the choice. Of the man in the gray suit who said no, so the whole world might remember what yes had cost. They showed his face, his calm acceptance. They replayed his final words. And a planet, moments before paralyzed by fear, found a strange, collective calm. If the end was coming, they would meet it on their feet. In Geneva. The envoy stood, immobilized by a paradox. Force had failed. The ultimate threat was neutralized by preemptive acceptance. It had no protocol for this. The commandant's new order arrived, a tight beam transmission. Disengage. Initiate quarantine perimeter. Species classified as voluntarily non-compliant, unassimilable. Risk assessment. Contagious ideological defiance. Isolate and observe. The envoy looked at the humans, these soft, brittle beings who had just broken the cornerstone of hegemony expansion logic. They were looking back, not with hatred, nor with fear, but with a terrible, quiet resolve. They had seen death, and it had not conquered them. Without another word, the envoy activated its beam. The column of light enveloped it, and it was gone. The crystalline data slab on the podium dissolved into inert dust dot in orbit. The great ship turned, its sharp angles catching the sun as it moved away from the moon, from the earth. It did not fire a shot. It simply retreated to a prescribed distance, joining others that began to form a distant, watchful cordon. On earth, the silence held for a long moment. Then, the woman who had spoken walked to the center of the chamber. She knelt, not in submission, but beside the fallen speaker. She gently closed his eyes. They had chosen execution. And in that choice, they had found, for now at least, their salvation. They had refused to kneel, and in doing so, had proven that some things in this universe were stronger than any force, any logic, any fear. The hegemony could never understand it. It was not a weapon they could analyze or shield against. It was simply the unbreakable will to be free. The story of the man who said no would be told forever, a warning to any who would come after, thinking humanity would ever kneel.